Hi, I'm Ichiro Fukuda from NTT Innovation Institute, and I'd like to talk about Zero Touch today. Does anyone in the room remember the conference title last year we had? This conference.
Yeah. NFV World Conference.
That's right. This year, you see, NFV and Zero Touch World Congress. So I was wondering why, having additional Zero Touch coming into this conference this year, and thinking about what is the meaning of the Zero Touch, right? So I'd like to talk about and ask you, what is Zero Touch for you? Anyone? Zero Touch? Remember when we started the SDN maybe 5-7 years ago as an industry. And I believe you, my vendor's friend. I'm pretty sure that carrier knocked your door. Hey, hey, knock, knock. I want SDN. And you answered, why do you want SDN? Because my boss wants SDN. What's the use case of SDN? SDN, right? So I'm pretty sure that SDN and still some a technology acronym still stands for some feature. Is this the Zero Touch is yet another feature set? Like Zero Touch provisioning. So this is a popular word and feature set that comes into the SD-WAN, software-defined wide area networking product. All of the feature vendors solutions has this terminology. But I think it's Zero Touch is not for the feature set. It's more natural to think about a new way or the new thinking pattern to transform our network service lifecycle. Here's a network service lifecycle. So this varies across any vendors. Yeah, please imagine that what kind of life cycle you have, right? And there's a lots of professionals involvement during the life cycle to deliver the services to the customer and operate. And imagine how many touch will be made when we operate to serve for our customers, right? Planning, delivery, and onboard the services, and monitor the services, and also reconstruct and reconfigure services to make operations. So I'd like to share my thought why I think Zero Touch is a new thinking pattern, because I don't think this is a feature, yet another feature to for the service provider, to walk you through my presentation. Yeah, so the planning. So as you know, lots of professionals running around to make the customer convinced and design the customer's network. When we apply the Zero Touch, right? So it's not the special, it's not the rocket science, but this is more why don't today's Zero Touch world, all the API dashboard design made in the dashboard or the APIs. And then customer design by themselves, click the button, and send a service order to deploy, to push down to what they want, right? Delivery. And this is, I think, one thing that I think this is important for the service provider when we talk about the service life cycle. So, someone talked so the planning or the onboarding or the activation is really real time. But what about the supply chain or the logistics? Still, it takes months, weeks to activate and bring up the sites at the customer prem. Lots of manual kitting, configuration to put the initial boot seed configs at the second touch factory, and then send it to the customers. In the Zero Touch, ideally it should be plugged. Development, so this is software development, right? So everyone thinking more cloud-native software. And that development pipeline should be plugged into the supply chain or logistics to automate. What does this mean is like a zero kitting, zero touch in the logistics, right? So yeah, so when the customer design the network and push down the config, so that it will automatically go to the supply chain logistics provider's API. Logistics provider scan the code, and then scan the code will be automatically registered to the controller up in the cloud, and then get prepared ready for the service activation onboarding. So that we don't need any some per customer configuration at the factory. This will shorten time for the site activation. Then finally, onboarding, needless to say, so it should be zero touch, right? Plug the power cable, plug the WAN, and then the rest will be automatically verify the service activation, download the services, and activate, and start using. And I think everyone's agree. The onboarding or the on-site site activation is not about the feature. We do have a time-consuming process that coordinating a time to set up the site activation, to send our technical engineers to go into the customer site and do the configuration site setup. That's time-consuming as well. Not only the configuration or the activation, right? And second was, this is also monitoring is important. Once you activate the services, then the carrier's service management will start. This is a long tail, right? Because like a customer will start operating, use it as a production system and the network services. And from here, this is the why we exist as a service provider. And today's operation monitoring. Unfortunately, most of our services monitoring capability is more event-driven and more reactive. Yeah, of course, we do have a lot of monitoring system through the SNMP syslog, but more in the zero-touch world, it should be more use of analytics, more real-time data, analyze telemetry data, and still utilize a robot to automate the process, as well as get the assist from the AIs to do more intelligence, right? So detect the anomaly of the network or logs of the systems to mitigate, and to have a more proactive maintenance, to get more quicker response to what customer needs. Of course, and also like a DevOps, everyone agrees that DevOps is important, right? In order to shorten the development cycle and serve to the customer. If we think about the DevOps, developers, ops, right? So as a development team, need to be also really close to plug into the operations, what customers really having the issue, right? By having this a more closer, tighter integration with the operations and development, and this needs some help of the system automation to capture the event, capture the anomaly, and detect the severity, and then based on the level of the severity, and ultimately file a ticket to the development Kanban system, right? So that L4 development team can react on the severity to change the software and push the new fix through the DevOps pipeline and immediately get down to the production system. So this cycle is more on traditionally it's more on we have to get to the vendors and go through the support side, tech dump, right? So it happens, but having zero touch and try to minimize, automate all the speed. So this is monitoring is also the key to evolve our services. And update, this is another cycle to come back to the design phase, right? Yeah, if you update, if your customer update any add or delete the network functions, it is today physical appliance, right? You need to rewire the LAN environment and add or delete. So this is also like a designing, consulting, and to get them additional PO, like new PO contract changes. But with the zero touch, and I did like, since this is self-services based and applying the NFV into the picture, all the service reconfiguration, like adding, deleting, upgrading, restoring, everything can be done virtually inside the box, virtually wired, right? So this is, I think, like, yeah, thinking about zero touch is, it's not the single approach, so it's not about the feature. I think like it's important to think that zero touch thinking leads us to better user experience by aligning with the user space. Because this, as you see, like the shorten the time or give more control, visibility to the customer will give confidence to the customer why, like to make them happy. So I think, yeah, so to help you understand like why, like I'm saying, it's the zero touch, it's not the single feature that provided by single like a vendor or solution, it's not a product. So where we are as an entity, so applying this philosophy and principle into the service development, we've been in services since last year through our NTT group companies, one in Japan, one in South Africa. So we as NTT Innovation Institute gave the yeah, product and services to those NTT group companies to let us run the converged edge services. So starting from like unified virtual networking, like SD-WAN feature, and second, adding the more NFV, third-party NFV to run on the CPE, that's so-called universal CPE in this industry terminology. But moreover, we do have a containerized application can run on the edge as well. Like Google Cloud that contained the previous Keynote. So we have a same similar vision that we want to pursue because this is one of the very powerful abstraction feature set that user bring in their own application and services, or the service provider define your own hidden secret like a functionality with a secret with your own secret sauce, implement in the container, deploy. So basically, it should not be the single monolithic product. It's more like it stands out the infrastructure platform to let you, customer, or the system integration partner vendors to come into play on the inside containers. So we do provide this like containerized delivery to compose and distribute the containerized services to the edge. So yeah, going back to the zero touch. So zero touch is all about how do we meet to the customer and end user experience, right? So yeah, so some customer yeah, already buy into our product and philosophy that how we like operate. And yeah, the customer really need the enhanced agility, not the connectivity. So I'd like to wrap up. So I think zero touch is a key thinking pattern. Again, this is not to transform the network service lifecycle. It's not the feature set. Most of the industry terminology is really try to focus on, hey, this is a feature, zero touch. This is the SDN. This is a slicing, whatever. But this is not the feature, right? It's more natural to come smooth that more new thinking pattern, hey, why don't we apply the principle to try eliminate less touch to make customer happy, right? So yeah, we will pursue the zero touch journey, but I think, again, this is the incremental activity. So if you haven't jumped into the more automation zero touch play, so I would recommend jump into the party and start learning. So because 100% automation won't be happening in next 2 to 5 years. It doesn't make sense to wait on the sideline. So Yeah, again, so we'll pursue our journey, but stay tuned. And thank you.
So it's a journey, but let's start now, down the road, right? Questions? Yes.
You know me, Ichiro-san, Dan Pitt. I guess I've been living in a world where we're assuming that there is a flexible infrastructure in place, and services are created, instantiated, spun up, modified, taken down with equipment that's already in place. I was sort of intrigued by you're talking about the supply chain and the delivery and the installation. And I'm just curious, in your experience, and let's just say for the next 5 years, how much in the way of new service creation will require the delivery of new hardware? Because that's what the picture was showing.
So I think that's a good point. So the point is, like, is that the opportunity is to replace the underlay networking, or the new opportunity to add, like, plug in the additional overlay services to the existing network. So depends on the service strategy. So it is not, again, so like, those boxes, those SD-WANs, for example, it is not necessary to replace the existing CPE. By using the overlay technology, you can put and put behind the existing routing or NAT devices to create yet another layer of the service plane. And what matters is, like, it's all about what kind of service are you going to deploy to that box. If that box only serves for the SD-WAN, maybe that's just cannibalized with the connectivity, right? But what if is a box that foster any application, threat detection, or like any home gateway, IoT gateway, any new services that you can come up as a service provider. You can containerize, or you can deliver and utilize that endpoint as differently. So it depends how, like, service operators define their services. And I would say, like, so if you think from the more connectivity plumbing side, of course, as you mentioned, will always hit like a more internal cannibalization issue, that replacing the existing money-making MPLS circuit to more discounted, cheaper SD-WAN something. So it's all about how you place. Does that make sense for you?
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, this is Ravi from Verizon. I would like to add a comment to what Dan Pitt has asked. So you are right. I mean, we should also think about how hardware should be delivered. And even further, we should also think about how bring your own hardware should be accommodated into zero-touch provisioning, especially qualification, validation. Is that ready for virtualization? Is the customer's ask can be actually provisioned in that hardware? We should do some sort of automated tools to verify this remotely and then deliver it securely, the services on the hardware. I'll be covering some of the topics in upcoming session.
So to streamline the, in a vCPE type of an environment, to streamline the auto provisioning configuration remotely from the operator side. That's pretty much happening today to a very large extent, though, is it not? Yeah.
When it comes to white boxes at customer premises,
yeah, certainly not when it comes to a Cisco router.
Yeah, give flexibility customers to bring their own hardware.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead, us providing hardware, it's a flexibility for them.
And then, as Ichiro mentioned, it depends upon the VNFs that you're deploying at the edge. Some of them are, if you're even deploying them at the edge, perhaps you're deploying them closer to the carrier where they can be managed more easily. But if it's latency sensitive, maybe you're deploying it closer to the customer, to the edge. So it really depends on the box that you're deploying, doesn't it? And the applications that are on that box. One more question.
Hi, my name is Mark Fuzinski from Akamai. I was intrigued by that you went from sort of WAN delivery and zero touch to also edge computing. And so as you've probably known over the last 2 days, a lot of questions have come up about security. So can you comment on how do you secure your edge computing and those containers that are now in potentially an untrusted environment?
Yeah, so I think that's the very important. So like a securing the container is the one of the key element. And I think the one of the those UCP edge computing type of use cases is also security is one of the big use case. Because why? The security needs a very frequent update and need one-shot policy or the blacklist distribution all the way down to force the edge computing device. So again, so security is also could be packaged as a containerized as a security service agent running in each edge devices to enforce that detect any new anomaly or any like behavioral analysis running at the edge to make more like edge secure and application secure. So it's like chicken and egg, but actually like a nested stack, but actually this is one of the interesting topic or how it will completely look completely different when we start marrying together more solid security intelligence to the network box. Because security, if you are aware about the RSA conference last week, it's all about AI train, machine learning train, and lots of people containerize all the intelligence to the containers. So I think that's also coming to have yet another interesting use case or like a viable use case to end users in near future.
Thanks, Ichiro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.